thank you for coming, and thank you for being here. My name's Terry Morton. I've been the Shine counselor here temporarily in Stow for a couple of months, but my home base is Harvard, and that's where I normally work. There's a new trainee who is coming into Stow and will be transitioning over the open enrollment period. And he's here now. His name is Michael Tatia.
Hi.
And he's in the background. But I'll be working with him over the transition period. As you know, the purpose of Shine is to provide unbiased, accurate information on Medicare programs, and we're a network of trained counselors. We're here briefly to discuss open enrollment and a little beyond that, a little more education of Medicare as well. The open enrollment period runs from October 15 to December 7. And if you elect to change any of your Medicare programs during this open enrollment period, that change will go into effect January 1st next year and run for a full calendar year. Now, you don't have to change anything. If you do nothing, your current program will simply roll over into next year, and you'll be continuing with the coverage that you have, unless the coverage has changed either slightly or a lot, because the plans may change every year. You'd know the changes if you should have received in September, during the month of September, something called an annual notice of change. And that notice is from your insurance company, from your Medicare insurance company, and it will explain what the changes are in the plans that you're currently in. Like I said, those changes could be premiums, they could be differences in coverage, doctors in and out, medications in and out, and so on. But they would explain that in the annual notice of change. Now, you also have an opportunity, if you're interested, in signing up and creating a mymedicare.gov account, mymedicare.gov. And that is an account that's yours with a password, ID and password, and it contains your prescription drug information. Anything you enter, the drugs you enter that you take, and it includes refills and so on and the prices you pay. Now, you don't have to set that account up, but it's an opportunity if you're interested in doing it, and the information will be saved privately. Now, as most of you know, or all of you should know, I think, there's different parts to Medicare, A, B, C, and D, and they all mean different things, and I'll go over some of that briefly. But basically, in Medicare, you have two fundamental choices of how you get your coverage. One choice is you have A and B. A is hospitals and B is doctors. And then you pick up a Part D, which is a prescription drug plan, a standalone prescription drug plan. And then you pick up a plan to cover the doctor's portion of what's not covered by Medicare. So you have A and B. A is hospitals, covers everything in the hospital after a $1,400 deductible. B is the doctors, pays 80% of the doctor's fees. D is a standalone drug plan where you sign up with a particular company and get prescription drugs and pay for them, etc., at the pharmacy. And the last piece is the doctors. This covers the 20% not covered by Medicare Part B, and those plans are called Medigap Plans. Now, they're interesting plans, and they have some interesting parts to them, which I'll get to in just a second. The other option, I talked about two basic options. The other basic option is something called Medicare Advantage, and that's it's coverage for prescription drugs and doctors, but it's handled in a very different way. What happens is you end up paying for the services you need. Now, you still join Medicare A and still join Medicare B, and then you join a Medicare Advantage plan. And in that plan, if you go to the doctors, you'll have a copay of maybe $25 for your primary care, or maybe $40, $45 for your specialist. If you go into the hospital, you'll have a daily charge up to 5 days to cover the hospital costs instead of the $1,400 deductible, you pay the insurance company maybe $350 a day, up to 5 days. If you go in for in and out surgery where you're in one day and out, then in and out the same day, there might be a fee of $275 or something like that. So those plans are less expensive than the other choice because some of them are even zero premium, nothing each month. But when you need a service, you pay for it. Now, clearly, if you don't need any services, don't go to the doctors, you're not paying anything. So you've got coverage for emergencies and you've got coverage for routine care, but if you're fairly healthy and don't have a lot of needs for that, then it may be a less expensive plan for you. So those are the two basic options. The one where you have a separate standalone drug plan plus A and B and then doctor's coverage, and also one where you have a kind of a package arrangement whereby you get your medical coverage and your prescriptions as well. Now, the Medigap policies is what I talked about a minute ago. That was the first choice that I was mentioning. And in those plans, they're a little more expensive than Medicare Advantage, but you have complete freedom of choice of doctors. There's no referrals, no copays, no networks. You can see any doctor in the area. In fact, you can see any doctor in Massachusetts, and you can see any doctor across the country. And there's even some foreign coverage. So if you're in Arizona, well, nobody's anywhere except home now, but if you end up eventually going to visit Arizona, then you can get routine medical coverage if you have a Medigap policy. They come at two levels. One is roughly $120 and the other is roughly $180 per month per person. And the difference is the hospital deductible coverage. At the higher price option, you are covered for the hospital deductibles. Otherwise, there is no charge for the doctors. If you are join these plans, you literally have no charge for routine doctor services of any sort. Now, the Medigap plans do not include prescription drugs, so you need to get them on a separate plan. The Medicare Advantage plans that I talked about are the kind where you pay for the services when you need them. There are a number of those plans that have no premium, $0 premium, so that you can save money, but if you need the service, then of course you pay for it. These plans do have some dental, vision, and hearing coverage, but that's not a huge feature, and don't get too excited about it because it might be $100 off on your eyeglasses or maybe 2 cleanings a year or something for your teeth, but which is nice and it's valuable, but it's not something that you should make your decision on. Your decision should be made on the convenience for you and your doctors, for which doctors are in the plans that you rephrase that. When you have your primary care and specialist doctors, you need to pick a plan in which they participate because these are network plans. So that's the general nature of the Medicare Advantage plans. The prescription drug coverage is a bit more complicated because there's a number of elements that go into the costs of drugs. There's the premiums that you pay for the insurance companies. There's the deductible, which can vary between companies. There's drug tiering. Sometimes they price a drug, they put a drug in a tier 3 or a tier 1, and the tier 3s are more expensive than tier 1s. And different companies can put the same drug in different tiers. And then, of course, there are copays at the pharmacy when you go to pick up your prescriptions. So all of those things contribute to the price you pay for any particular drug. The other consideration to remember with drug plans is that the insurance companies put some cost controls on their prescription drugs. These might be in the form of, first, a quantity limit. So the insurance company says, you're welcome to buy this drug and we will sell you 60 pills per month. Well, if you only need 1 a day, that's no big deal. It doesn't matter. If you need 2 a day, it still doesn't matter because you can buy 60 pills a month. But if you need 3 or 4 pills a day of that particular pill, then you can only buy 60 at their discounted price, and you'll pay the full manufacturer's price for the other 60. So you have to be careful about quantity limits. They may or may not affect you depending on how many pills you take. The other restriction is the prior approval. Now, if your doctor prescribes a particular drug for you and it's for your heart, but in fact, the brand use of that drug, the use of that drug normally is for, let's say, an antidepressant, then the insurance company may not sell it to you because the drug is being used off-label. Now, what they do is they ask the doctor to tell them, the insurance company, why you're taking that particular drug and ask for prior approval before they sell it to you. It can or can't be a big deal. Often when a doctor writes it up, it just goes right through. It's not necessarily a big deal, but it's an extra step that you have to think about. The last restriction is the worst, and that's called step therapy. And that's the case where the doctor says, here, this is the drug I'm going to prescribe for you, and submits it. You submit it to the insurance company for payment, or when you pick it up, and they say, hold it, wait a minute, we've got a better idea. Instead of taking this drug, let's try this other drug first. And if it doesn't work, well, we'll talk to you and you can, use the first drug. So then you get in a big argument between you and the doctor and the insurance company. And when you run into a step therapy limitation, move on to another plan. It's just not worth the effort. Some plans have step therapy, lots of them, and some plans don't ever use that approach. So it just varies, but depending on the drug and the insurance coverage. So that's rather a lot of words, but it kind of gives you a sense of how complicated the prescription drug pricing and purchasing business is. Now, if you're in a prescription drug plan, it can be either a standalone plan, like I said, a Part D plan, or it can be buried inside the Medicare Advantage plans. They're still Part D plans, but they're not separate ones. They're all part of the Medicare Advantage package. In general, I've observed that sometimes the prescription drugs are less expensive within the Medicare Advantage plans than they are for the same drug being purchased on a standalone pharmacy. That's not a hard and fast rule, but there seems to be a tendency that way. The other thing that's happening with drug insurance companies is that they're beginning to make special deals with pharmacy chains. So they now have arrangements with CVS, with Wegmans, with Walmart, with different big Costco's and so on, with big chain pharmacies, and they work up special prices. So they end up having network pharmacies, and they have standard network pharmacies and preferred network pharmacies. And the price of the same drug at a standard network pharmacy and a preferred network pharmacy, you can follow all this, is different. So you need to be sure that when you select where you purchase your drugs, you are in fact using a preferred network pharmacy. And there's different ways to find that out, but that's where the price will be the least. Now, whether you change or not your pharmacy, your prescription drug plan, really has to do with how satisfied you are with what you've been doing, the plans you're in. Are you happy with them or not? And the other issue is whether you're taking new drugs, or you may be planning to take new drugs, and you need to do a little research to find out how much they might cost. Now, I can help in that, and Michael can too, because there is a website, www.medicare.gov, the main Medicare website. And in there is a button for Find Health and Drug Plans. It's called the Plan Finder. If you click on that, you'll be led through a series of prompts, and you can enter the particular prescription drugs that you take, and you will find the price of that drug in all of the plans. So you can do an apples to apples comparison. And the nice thing about that is that it includes the effect of the deductibles, it includes the effect of the premiums, and so on. So you end up with a truly apples to apples comparison for the drugs that you enter. The there's one thing I need to warn you about, two things really. One, that new plans come and go, and sometimes the same company drops a plan and picks up and makes a new plan, and sometimes the companies buy and sell each other's plans. So for example, there's a company called Envision, and Envision has prescription drug plan, and their premium last year was $14.20. I'm sorry, their monthly premium was $14.20. Well, that plan is going away, and Envision is automatically re-enrolling people in a $34 per month plan. And again, there's another one, a Mutual of Omaha, is changing their plan, one of their plans from a $49 premium to an $87 premium. So this would have been in the annual notice of change, but the plans can switch and change during this open enrollment period. Passing comment is that Raytheon, there may be Raytheon retiree plans. Now, this is not a Medicare plan. This is a retiree plan for former Raytheon employees. But that particular plan is dropping prescription drug coverage. So if there's anyone on that plan, you need to arrange for a standalone Part D plan for next year. So the cost can vary a lot depending on the drugs. There's the lower price drugs probably won't change much from year to year, but there can be medium price drugs that change a lot. And if you need help, then call the COA here in Stow COA, and they'll arrange for a Shine counselor to get together with you or talk with you on the phone and go through the drug pricing for the particular drugs you take. Okay, I've gone fast through a lot of stuff, so I'm going to pause here for a minute and see if anybody has any questions. I'd ask Allison to unmute you all, and then you unmute yourself at your end. And if you have any questions, kind of raise your hand and ask. I'm happy to do that. Is there a chat box here?
Yeah, I have a.
Yeah, good. I'm hearing you. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. You had mentioned earlier about some of the plans covering even in foreign countries. Can you give a couple of examples of coverage in countries, those countries that would be covered?
Yeah, sure. I can, except I don't guess anyone's really going to foreign countries now, are they? But these are Medigap plans, the kind where you can see any doctor anywhere, not the copay referral plan, not Medicare Advantage, but Medigap. And they're run by 7 companies, Blue Cross and others. The details of the foreign coverage you'd need to get specifically from the insurance companies. And you'd phone them. I can give you phone numbers if you stay online afterwards. I can dig up a phone number for some of them. But basically, you'd ask them, I believe that you get receipts from the medical care that you had abroad, whether it's hospital or doctors, and then submit the receipts. When you come back to this country, submit the receipts for payment. But that will vary probably by company. Also, there are 2 levels. I think I mentioned 2 levels of coverage. Some companies offer the foreign benefit for both levels of coverage, and it's possible that some companies only offer it for the higher level of coverage. You'd need to check the details with the companies. I think that's kind of all I know about how it works, but I do believe it's a reimbursement process.
How does the GoodRx plans and plans like that interact with your prescription coverage?
Not at all. GoodRx is I'm going to call it loosely an internet company. Truthfully, I don't know what it really is, but I view that as a company, a discount sort of internet company. And they offer drug pricing. They sell drugs and they sell them at their prices. And as far as I know, it's totally independent and nothing to do with Medicare. Now, remember that the Medicare drug costs are subsidized by the government. The manufacturers price a drug at a retail price, I'm going to make one up, $86 for whatever. The government will then subsidize that, let's say 75%. so that the insurance company then knows it has to charge, let's say, $24.32. But it doesn't have to. It can change. I think it can charge a little more or a little less. The difference is the government subsidy, the discount, the government discount. I don't have any concept of whether RX and companies like that can obtain government discounts or not. I have no idea. It's certainly not done through Medicare.
I have a question too.
Go ahead.
In the past, the Council on Aging, the SHINE program has made available like a spreadsheet of the different available. Yep. Is that available to get?
Yes. Yes and no.
Okay.
All right. Yes and no. Of course, I give you. There's no simple answer.
This whole thing isn't simple.
The material that I'm using right now is available here at the COA. You call the COA and say you'd like a copy of what I presented. The page, it's pages like this. I'm just not showing them on the screen.
Okay.
As part of that package, at the end of it, I have the Medicare Advantage data sheet that you're referring to. I have the Part D plan data sheet. Those are the drug plans that are standalone drug plans. And I have the cost for Medicare if your income is over the standard limits, and I also have a cost that indicates where
is it from?
Qualifying limits for some public assistance programs. So there's some of the data sheets are available. What's not available yet are the green sheets that had the deductible costs for A and B, because those have not yet been determined. And what's not available yet are the Medigap sheet, the blue sheet that has the company costs for the core and 1A, the high and the low options on their plans. Those should be out in a month or so, or I should say maybe a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And the COA will have them here, and you could call. I would suggest calling in a couple of weeks and seeing if they're in yet. They'll get to the COA just as soon as I get them, and I'll get them as soon as they're printed.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know this. I don't have much sense of how much the Medigap costs will change. Typically, they're not very much changes, not very high changes, maybe $10, $15 up and down. But the Medicare Advantage plan, we have that data now, so you can look for that right away.
I'm an envision person, which is what inspired me to get on this, because I was very upset.
And if you're Envision RX Plus, you were paying $14.20,
right? And
you want to go to 30.
I do not want to go to 34, right?
Got it. Now there are a number of low-cost plans. There are still a number of plans at around $15, and if you're taking inexpensive drugs, then you can switch to almost any of the low-cost plans. An inexpensive drug on one plan is going to be inexpensive on another. I mean, now, what's inexpensive is in the eye of the beholder. I'm talking about drugs for which copays are, say, $1 to $5, in that range. If the drug copays are in the $15 to $45 per month range, then they're starting to get pretty serious, and clearly, comparison shopping now on drug plans is important to do.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Terry?
Yeah.
George has a question for you.
Sure. I can't hear George. You may be muted. I can't hear you. No.
I'll chat with him.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, George?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
I have recently started using PillPack, Amazon's PillPack, and it is so much cheaper. I cannot believe it. So I'm taking 9 pills,
Okay.
or 9 different prescriptions,
Okay.
and I'm paying like $35 a month total.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Yep. Now again, those have you priced those drugs on any other drug plans? I mean, any Medicare drug plans?
Well, not the drug plans, but the pharmacy, like I priced them with Walmart.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. If you're happy with the way it's going, that's great. If you were interested, you could find out the pricing on a standalone plan for the same prescription drugs. I would purely speculate, and don't misunderstand me here, I'm not promoting anything. I would speculate that you may find pricing to be roughly comparable, but I have no basis for that. I'm just guessing.
Well, I did compare it to my current prescription coverage, which is Harvard Pilgrim Advantage plan.
Okay.
And it was like about a third of that.
Oh, interesting. Okay, good to know. And that's Amazon Pill Pack.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a company up in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay.
That Amazon bought.
Okay, thank you. George, did we get George?
Hi, George, can you hear us? Shake your head.
While we're waiting for George, so somebody had a question about the Medigap before and foreign. If you go on the Medicare website, you'll see that there is for foreign travel, there is a deductible, and also typically it only covers 80%. So make sure you look at that, and there is a cap of 50,000 for so serious, and it has to be considered medically necessary. So there's a lot of detail before you travel that you should be aware of your medical condition and what the limitations are, and that's all on the Medicare website.
Good, thank you.
Let's try it now.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I was using a headphone set for the first time, and the settings were not making sense. So anyways, Harry, what I want to know is a couple of things. Right now, I'm covered under my wife's insurance at work.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be true to say that a decent insurance plan through someone's employer that is probably going to give you more for your money than the Medicare, with the Medicare getting a Medicare supplement, et cetera?
Yeah, it's a good question, George. And the truth is, the devil in everything, as in everything, the devil's in the details. There are some company plans that are very good and very thorough and very well covered and not, priced quite reasonably. Those would be highly competitive, I would speculate, or less than Medicare. But truthfully, the only way to know that is to understand properly what the cost is for you to be on your wife's plan. In other words, the delta between her alone on the plan and the family, or 1+1, or however it's phrased, getting that cost differential and then looking at Medicare. Now, if it's a good plan, you're almost certainly better staying on your wife's plan as long as you can. But I don't want to make a blanket statement that that's always true.
Along that, can I enter Medicare mid-year outside of an open enrollment plan?
Yes, if you are covered on your wife's, on an employee group plan, and that plan ends, voluntarily in your case, you're going to leave it, then that is a valid reason for you to sign up with Medicare mid-year.
Final question, under the plans, if I go with Medicare supplement, Medigap, can I change my drug plan during the year if I'm not pleased with it? Do I have to go with what I put in when I signed up? I still want to stay with Medigap, right?
You have to go, with Medigap, no drugs, therefore you sign up for a Part D standalone plan.
Right.
You can sign up initially mid-year, when you've got a reason for it, like you just gave. But once you're in that plan, you can only change then once a year during open enrollment period.
Yeah, I was thinking more if I just signed up for during open enrollment. Once I pick someone, that I have to stay with it until the next open enrollment.
That's right.
But
now there's some exceptions to that, and I'll cover later. There's one particular exception, two exceptions to that, but they may not apply to you.
All right. In Raytheon, are they then prevented by from changing prices during the year?
Nope. They can change prices during the year, They can add to their formulary, they can drop drugs off the formulary, and they can change tiering. In other words, they can change anything they want.
So that envision, go ahead.
It's all right. The companies, they do that when they have to. I mean, I'm not defending them one way or the other. They do it. But they're sensitive to public opinion, and they don't want to lose customers. And they know that changing drugs pricing and particularly dropping drugs off the formula is a huge deal. So they do it when they want to, but they try not. I believe they don't go excessively to that level because it only hurts them in the long run.
All right. Medicare doesn't stop now. Medicare wouldn't let me use that as an excuse to change drug plans if they would double the price on my drugs.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
Yeah, sure. Any others?
Yeah, hi, this is Ed. I'm sorry, somebody else?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Ed Lynch again.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, hi, this is Ed Lynch again. I have not retired yet. I plan to retire sometime next year, but it would be prior to sign up. So can you retire can you sign up mid-year for coverage?
Yes, certainly. That falls under the category I just said. If you're in an employee group health plan and that changes for whatever reasons, then, or voluntarily comes to an end, then you can sign up for Medicare. So in your case, when you stop working, the rules are you have 8 months after you stop active employment in order to sign up for Part B, and 2 months after employment to sign up for Part D. So effectively, you need to get a drug plan within 2 months, but you have 8 months to wait if you choose to wait for Part B. If you don't sign up when you can, then you may be liable to a penalty on either B or A, and the penalty takes the form of more money, and it's forever. It's not just for a year or two. It's a higher price on those premiums forever. In the case of Part B, for example, for every 12 months that you didn't sign up when you could have, there's a 10% addition to the premium. And the premium this year is about $150, $140. Okay, we can have more questions later if you need to, but let me just continue a little further now. The people don't always realize that they can certainly ask their insurance company, the drug insurance company. You can ask for exceptions if they don't have a drug, or if they're dropping their drug on the formulary. You can ask for an exception to cover it. You can ask the plan to see if they'll cover the drug at a lower cost tier. You can always ask. You never know what they'll say. Obviously, the normal one, of course, is to make sure that you're taking a generic rather than the brand name if you possibly can. And also, as I mentioned, using the lower cost pharmacy. These preferred network pharmacies are, and that's true for both the standalone plans and the Medicare Advantage plans. I believe, and this is a personal opinion, I believe they're beginning to take over the old mail order approach, because I've noticed that the mail order costs for many of these plans are very, very similar to the preferred network pharmacy costs. Now, that's just an observation. I don't know what the company policies are, but almost all of the plans offer a mail order option, but they aren't necessarily much cheaper, if at all. And as I say, there are some assistance programs that I'll talk about. In fact, now there's two in particular. One is called Extra Help. This is a very beneficial program for limited income people, limited income and limited assets. The income levels are, I think I have, it's about $15,000, and the income is about $2,500 for married couples. Those numbers aren't accurate, but that's about right. They are for married couples. Asset limits is $14,000 for a couple, and the income is $2,000 per month for a couple. If you qualify for that, the drug pricing is vastly reduced. The other is something called Prescription Advantage. And Prescription Advantage, again, for those married couples with incomes of less than, I think it's, sorry, less than $4,300 or $7,000 per month. There's two levels, and I won't get into the details. Are eligible for Prescription Advantage, and there's no asset limitation on that. Now, what Prescription Advantage does, it helps if you have very, very expensive drugs because it covers the costs in the donut hole, which I won't get into now, but it's good if you've got very expensive drugs. But the major benefit that joining Prescription Advantage does, it allows you to switch drug plans once during the year. So that gives you an opportunity to switch if you're eligible for Prescription Advantage. And again, the COA can contact the Shine counselor, either myself or Michael, Tatia, and they we'll be able to give you the application stuff for it. It's a state-run program. They're looking for members. They're really nice people, and they're easy to deal with. You can apply on the phone, and it's really, they're great. So it's a good program if you qualify. Now, what's new in Medicare this year? There's not a lot new, and I'll touch on it just briefly, but the first thing is there is now a new kind of medical savings account. This is sort of analogous to a health savings account, which many people have prior to joining Medicare, and it's a very high deductible account. Basically, what happens is you spend $3,000 of your own money on medical expenses. And when you do that, after you do that, the government has already, sorry, let me back up. You sign up with the plan and the government kicks in $2,000 and you put $3,000 to make a $5,000 pot. When that pot has been expended by you on medical costs, then the rest of your medical costs that year are free. So it's a high deductible plan with no premium. There is a network of doctors. It's a very wide network, and you can choose and you can ask your doctors, do they participate in this? It's new this year. It's being run and managed by one company called Lasso, L-A-S-S-O. And Lasso healthcare.gov, no, lassohealthcare.com is the website. And you can go there and ask about it and find out about it. I don't know much more than what I just told you, frankly. Anyway, it's new. There is also something called the Senior Savings Plan in the Part D plans, which is a new pricing for insulin and other diabetic-related drugs. All the companies participate in this. They each choose which drugs are going to be added on their formulary. And those drugs are fixed price at $35 per month for the drugs that they sell. So it's a new benefit for people with diabetes that need insulin-related drugs. That's it for what's new, really. The rest there's some minor changes on telehealth, but it's not significant. Okay, we're just about wrapping up. I mentioned Prescription Advantage. That is something for you to consider. There are also some assistance programs for covering doctor's costs if you, again, have limited incomes and assets. For example, assets maximizing at $23,000 for married couples, $15,000 for individuals, and incomes of around $2,000 plus or minus. If you are that kind of category, then you may be eligible for these assistance programs, and you should contact the Shine people through the COA, and you can learn more about them and how to apply for them. When I say assets, it includes everything you own except your primary residence and a car, your primary car. So it does everything else, bank accounts and everything. Okay, I think I'm done. It is a time to consider changes, to consider what your health situation is. Is it been changing recently? Have you had more expenses than you had previously? Are they likely to continue? Are you satisfied with what you've got, or do you think it's time to look into changes? And that's really what this period is all about. And as I say, we will be available, I'll be available, and Michael too, maybe available. Contact the Shine office and set up an appointment. We've set aside a couple of days where I can be either here and meet safely and suitably with the COA's approval, where we can have some distance and masked outside discussion, or directly, or I can do it by phone. So either one.
So just to reiterate that, if you do choose to meet in person with Terry, we have a space that is an outside covered alcove that will have a table and chairs. So hopefully the weather will cooperate on the days that we have picked. But as Terry has stated, if need be, things can be done over the phone. You'll see in the newsletter coming out for November to contact us, and we'll have a sign-up sheet for the times. So whether it's going to be in person or a phone call, either way, we'll have a sign-up sheet and you can decide which one you would like. And then we'll get that information to Terry before the day of the meetings.
Good. Yeah, that's fine. And Martha does a great job as coordinating all this stuff. It's a little clunky to come through the COA and then come to me, but it's the way I work it because it's easy and it keeps the COA in the loop, which I think is very important because they're very aware of people's needs and what can be helpful. So it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else anyone wants to ask? Anything you thought of or?
Hi.
Yeah.
George.
Yeah.
If you leave Medicaid, decide I'm going to take a chance on it, and then you say this is not as good as my wife's plan, I am not happy with it, and you leave for like, can you re-enter Medicare at a later date?
Yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. As long as your wife's employed, as long as you are going to a group health plan. When you re-sign, they'll want to know where you've been and what you've been doing, and they'll want to be sure that you've been covered so that you're not just being on your own, if you will. One thing that's important, and there's something called creditable coverage. Creditable coverage means the coverage for drug plans is just as good as Medicare coverage as viewed by Medicare. So health employee plans, retiree plans, etc., check that they are called creditable coverage plans, because then Medicare will accept them as being just as good. And that means that you'll have been properly covered, and therefore there won't be a Part D penalty because you weren't, if you follow that stuff.
Of course, Martha, it says in the here that it's recording this. If you're recording this, will it be available for people to access it online?
So Stow TV is also recording this, so it will be on cable.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.
Great.
Oh, you mean I'll be on YouTube? Oh, can't wait to tell my grandkids. No, that sounds like too much trouble to me.
And certainly, if anybody has any questions, they can always call the COA and we will do our best to help in any way with anything that we possibly can.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, well, thanks for coming, everybody. Appreciate
Very
it.
helpful.
Good.
Take good care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Stay safe and healthy, everyone.
Yeah, same to
Okay.
you.
Welcome.